Listeners of the Tron podcast, welcome back. This is your host, Rashad Woods. Today, I have a very special guest today, and it's an honor and a pleasure because his story is very inspiring. It's all about health and making yourself better, and he's created a very innovative company in the process. Mr. Larry Oberheu of Fresh Mouth Club. Thank you very much, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. So pretty excited.
Yeah, it's definitely, we've touched base a couple times, and it's been an exciting episode for me because you have such an innovative business and it's so personal with people because it's oral health, it's people's well-being, and you've created a very innovative club, subscription model, particularly because you come from the healthcare industry and you pivoted into dentistry, even though most people don't associate oral health with physical health and well-being as well.
Right. So yeah, I come from the health industry. So I was in it and still am for about 30 years. So we're pretty big into that. And yeah, I mean, some circumstances with the change, it's Obamacare. So, I mean, Obamacare really kind of destroyed my industry. So we were a pretty large insurance agency. So top 2% in the whole country. So we did a pretty amazing job. I mean, Obamacare kind of destroyed it. Luckily, we had a little bit of foresight and kind of foreseen a little bit of it, didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was. So we ended up pivoting a little bit into dental. So that's kind of the road into the dental insurance kind of came in, and we started doing dental insurance and doing administrative work for some dental companies. And then we actually created a dental insurance plan ourselves. So we're kind of in that space, and insurance, unfortunately, had been and still is being politicalized. So, I was tired of only making money when certain people were in power and stuff, and was really kind of taking apart the industry pretty badly. And it made it really difficult to make money. So I was tired of, only making money certain times, and, it was kind of hit or miss. So we decided that I needed to get something outside of the insurance business. So we started looking at some different models and some different things, and basically thought, well, we're kind of in dental. That's kind of what we're doing. Why don't we do something, in the dental field? Originally it was kind of a get rich quick scheme.
I saw that on your previous interview. I mean, everybody kind of goes into business with that.
It really was. That didn't work out that way. So, but it did there was a lot of transitioning going on, and it actually was the catalyst to start, like an entire different journey, which I didn't see it at the time. We were just looking to try to get something to make some money and stuff. So we kind of, thought, well, here we're working in dental. Why can't we, get a product that like we could market to the dental insurance companies, something that was truly preventative in nature, something that would really help orally. Right. And so then the research just began. So I didn't really set out to make toothpaste. That wasn't my goal in life. But I said, hey, there's plenty of people out there. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. If somebody's got something that works, we just need to know why and get some research behind it and just kind of back that and really kind of push that through the channels that we had open to us at the time, which were, some pretty big insurance companies. So that's what it started out. We started looking at, we looked at Crest, I wasn't even down the whole fluoride rabbit hole at that point in my life. We were just looking for something that was good for us. And hell, I'd used fluoride toothpaste my entire life. I didn't really think there was anything wrong with it.
I mean, everybody buys what's off the shelf, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, it's just like, like anything else, it's like the person of authority, doctors, dentists and stuff like that. We view them as professionals and we put them on a pedestal, and anything they do or say, we just take for granted. Hey,
right.
This is, the guy's job. He knows what he's talking about. Well, and so I was pretty shocked actually in digging into it. So, finding out that fluoride literally is toxic waste. So I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, fluoride is one of the most poisonous substances on earth, and we put this in our mouth and our kids' mouths, and it's in our water, it's toothpaste, and this is ridiculous. I mean, fluoride is, horrendous, for our bodies. So a lot of people don't realize is less than a gram will kill a full-size human being. So that's what we're putting in our toothpaste in our mouth, less than a gram. And, yeah. And a lot less than that for a child. So it is based on size and weight. And actually, it affects women and men differently as well. Women attacks their thyroid. That's why about 7 out of 10 women have thyroid disorders is fluoride. Fluoride destroys the thyroid. So in men, it seems to attack their brains more. It is a neurotoxin.
That would explain why.
And it causes ADD.
Okay.
So, now they're seeing, we got all these kids on Ritalin and Concerta and all these,
Mhm.
attention deficit disorder stuff. And it's really the large majority of that is caused by fluoride.
I did not know that, and that's I always find things fascinating when people create and invent things, do their research, and make successful products. But honestly, we're kind of creatures of habit because, again, to your point, I remember I saw a commercial one time a long time ago, and it showed like this talkative guy, and he was talking at work, and then he was talking in his inner circle, and he was always asking questions, and then they showed him in a picture in his doctor's office, and they were like, he just sat silently, and it was the way that it was basically like you ask questions and question everything except when it comes to medical, right?
Except when it, yeah. Like
That
they know what
person
they're
that
talking
has
about.
8, 9, 10 years of medical, and I'm not dissing the medical, people who, this is just where people get uncomfortable asking questions, right? Because it's just a
Right.
natural reaction. People may not question, for example, their pastor or their minister. They may not question
Right.
their dentist or their doctor because people have
Exactly.
exalted titles and things like that.
Right. We're kind of bred into like, respecting authority. We don't
Yes,
question
yes,
authority.
exactly.
Like even our teachers, hey,
Yeah,
our teachers, they know it all.
right,
No,
right,
they
right,
don't.
right. So it gets very, very complicated because then you become the know-it-all when you keep at, the kid who keeps
Yeah.
raising his hand all the time, and they're like, "Hey, I'm the
Right.
professor, I'm the dean." You're not
Don't question,
right,
well, not, I mean, honestly, it's like, I think a lot of people are kind of waking up to that. It's like, my new motto is question everything,
for sure.
because, I mean, hey, I mean, history is riddled with mistakes that we've made. I mean, you don't got to look far to see that,
Right.
asbestos, supposed to be not harmful. That didn't work out so well. Lead, lead in our paint and stuff like that. I mean, so there's mistakes that we made throughout the
Yeah.
history, and we kind of corrected it. Fluoride is just one of those things that just we haven't gotten past that to get to the correction mode. I mean, there's other rabbit holes you can go down to.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get
Of
real
course.
fringe with this stuff,
Of course.
but the long and short of it, not good, and we need to stop doing it.
Yeah.
This is another thing. We find out stuff, and then we argue it and litigate it and put it through
Right.
court. So currently, right now, we're going through a massive lawsuit to remove it from the water.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a 30-year push to get it out of our water,
Right.
and we're right there. As a matter of fact, they won. They won the last court case in 2023. The Fluoride Alert Network actually sued the EPA and went to court, got it all the way up through. They won the appeals, everything. They went all the way through. They actually won the case. The judge in the case, the EPA could not give any. They couldn't give any reasoning or objections to any of the studies that they all did on how heinous that fluoride is for our bodies. They literally had nothing.
Okay.
But
I did
you know
not hear
what
about.
though?
I know it's been politicized. I didn't know that particular case. I haven't followed that. So yeah.
Yeah. But get this. So they win the case. They win the appeal because literally they you could watch some of the court things. They have it on their website, fluoridealert.org, and they literally they couldn't answer hey, this is poison. Yes, it is, and it's not good for us. Well, that's true. I mean, everything they were doing in it was hey. And that's what the judge said. He's like, I am appalled. He's like, this needs to stop now. And
Wow.
so what did they do? They lost, and they lost the appeal, but now they've come back and they're suing Fluoride Alert Network and kind of going back through, re-pulling the case up because they say they didn't have standing. Not they weren't right, not that they said wrong things, not that they say, oh, we got new information now that we could prove this. None of that. It was just they don't have standings to bring this case. Well, what happened to just, hey, and now they're getting it. I mean, they're bringing this case back. Something that should be a hard stop and okay, we need to stop doing this. All the evidence is there. No, we didn't do that. We said, oh, well, we'll go back to court just to argue, semantics on whether or not they could bring the case or not. How about were they right? I mean, that would be a better.
Were the facts what they were, right? So
Right, exactly.
What's interesting about the history of dentistry, if people always I find this fascinating, right? Because the person who used to work on your teeth was your barber, right? When people actually right, so for a long time there wasn't even a link between your actual body, from the neck on up in between your ears.
Right.
Nothing was ever linked to the rest of your body. It seems corny, right? Because you're like, what are you talking about? People get mouth sores. You would think
actually, you go way back though, and dentists weren't Dentists weren't what they are today.
Not even close.
The whole term apple a day keeps the doctor away, that was actually a dentist.
Yeah.
So dentists did a lot more than
Yeah.
just clean your teeth.
Yes.
Today they've been kind of demoted to just, glorified teeth cleaners, really.
Right.
And I'll give some credit where it's due and credence to their profession. It's a lot more than just that.
Oh my gosh.
And
oh my gosh.
it really is. And I mean, a lot of dentists will even argue that, they don't believe in the connection between our teeth and our body. But there's a tooth meridian chart. I mean, it's real. You can Google one. I mean, every single tooth is connected to a body organ function.
I've seen that. I have heard that. I've seen and heard that.
Yeah. And there's lots of physicians now that are kind of saying that, hey, we believe that close to 80% of chronic disorders start in the mouth. So that's a big number. That's a lot. We really should be focused more on oral health, not clean. Yeah, and that's part of it, keeping your teeth clean, obviously, but that's not all. I mean, our mouth and our teeth are really important to our body. We really need to take care of them. And everything on the market right now is designed for failure.
It's also like more vanity and stuff like that too, right? It's all about like how shiny they are, right? As opposed
and a lot of the vanity stuff actually ruin your teeth. Veneers, they literally scrape the enamel off your teeth, and it's irreversible. It's not, you can't go back,
Right.
and it's not healthy for us. There's other things that they could do, but I mean, everybody kind of goes and tries to do that. I've ran across people that just want to have all their teeth pulled out and put all implants in. It's like, man, what is wrong with people? That's the wrong idea there. Implants are not, because they just want the perfect pearly whites and don't want to have to work for it. Not like actually taking the time to take care of your teeth. So that they look good. But yeah, so we got that definitely a little bit wrong. Our teeth they just did a study in 2019. They took 1,000 women with breast cancer, just a random selection of women. 90% of them had root canals or cavitations, which is an infection below gum line, and the second or the third molar on either side on the top. That's directly connected to the mammogram, or your mammary glands, I should say. And, so that's huge, 90% of them. And then to make it even more disturbing, whatever side that root canal or cavitation was on was the side the breast cancer was on.
Are you serious?
I mean, that's like wild. A slam dunk right there. So that's how interconnected we are. I mean, we're talking about cancer. We're talking about MS. We're talking chronic disorders. I mean, heart disease and stroke. A lot of this stems from our mouth. And, so a lot of people, they want to be healthier nowadays and, working out and trying to do the right things, trying to eat the right things. It starts in our mouth, though. Our wellness starts as the epicenter of wellness is our mouth. So if you can't be healthy there, we're going to have issues in our body. So you got to clean up that first.
So I had a couple questions with regards to your company. But I wanted to also say that, when people, it also shows the diminishing importance when it comes to dental health, because even when it's in somebody's employer-based benefits or on the market, it covers the least amount when it comes to actually taking care of, like, the caps on them are so low, and what they cover, they've tried to make them more robust, because reality is that, your dental insurance may cost, $12 a month, but it just covers a cleaning. It doesn't give you the full scope of what your mouth and your oral care actually needs taken care of, because it was always looked at as like a secondary vanity thing, as opposed to part of your actual medical coverage for your whole body. And it's weird because it isn't listed as important or elective, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, and that's where you get like some division on it. So your dentist, you have your biological dentists, which to me are you're pretty much your top tier. Those dentists actually treat the entire body. So they're not all about the mouth. They're like, they get it. It's like their connection is there. They don't believe in fluoride. They don't believe in amalgams or the silver, in our mouth. They believe that interconnection's there, and they treat our whole body. They're also a lot more expensive than a regular dentist,
for sure.
But they are the best dentists out there. They use things like silver, like that's what our toothpaste is made out of, and they also use ozone, which is really amazing stuff as well. And we do some ozone products as well. So ozone is really, really
nice,
healthy for us. I mean, it's a really great product. It really is. So ozone is, they call it O3. It's 3 oxygen molecules bound together with electricity. And it's very unstable. So, but it's one of the most sterile products known to man. So it is 10 times more powerful than bleach, as far as killing bacteria and germs and viruses, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's very strong and very effective with it, but it only lasts for about 30 minutes because it falls apart.
Okay.
But that's actually really good news for our body, because if it falls apart inside of us, it creates oxygen,
Oh,
because it just falls apart back into oxygen. Our
jeez.
body's like oxygen,
No, it is.
just a little.
Just a
So
little bit.
it's really, really healthy for us. Yeah, like oxygen actually is what heals our body. Cells, tissues,
Right.
organs, our bone are all healed through oxygen. So
Right.
that excess oxygen obviously really does some benefit for our body.
Yeah.
And biological dentists do what they call ozone irrigation. So they use ozone water to irrigate a tooth that would need a root canal. And in about 40% of the time, they're able to save that tooth by doing it. Now, general dentists don't even go there; they just do the root canal.
But
And
this might be
biological
doable
dentists,
such a few portion of the population, just because most employers aren't going to cover something that in depth.
right? Oh yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's all it's out of pocket. Exactly. Yeah, they cover the exact stuff that we don't want. That we don't necessarily want, or more of your natural curing and stuff like that, or healing through other means other than just the traditional medical means. So health and care and health insurance haven't caught up to that, and I think that was intentional as well. I mean, it is cheaper to pay for natural products than it would be for prescription grade. So why wouldn't insurance cover that? Because they're all in bed together. So they all kind of represent and make up this system that we're kind of stuck in. And and dental's part of it. Medical, dental, both the American Medical Association and the American Dental Association, the ADA, are both owned by the Rockefeller Foundation, which incidentally are responsible for the system that's in place today. They removed the natural healing and the empirical health system that we had prior to the 30s, or mid 30s, and they came out with synthetic blends, chemical, basically chemical synthetic blends of natural products. So all medication today is a derivative of a natural product that they've
No question, without question, right? I mean, it all it does is mimic nature, right? And then basically you monetize.
Yep, exactly. So, and they know this, and they can't patent the natural stuff, so they've used the synthetic version. And they're finding now that this a lot of this stuff is just coming out now. They're saying that our bodies don't we don't process synthetics well at all. None of that is good for our body in any way, shape, or form. So we don't want synthetics. Our bodies don't know what to do with it. And what it does is the synthetics treat the symptoms and then cause other problems. But this is great news for them, because there's no money in curing people anymore. So we don't cure, we don't heal. We just treat. And they even changed the Hippocratical Oath, which is kind of, I think that should be talked about more. The heal and cure are taken out, and do no harm. So do no harm is taken out of the Hippocratical Oath. I mean, what the heck is that? I mean, because at the end of the day, none of that matters. It's all about pushing their agenda and getting you stuck on a maintenance medication that you're on for the rest of your life, rather than healing and curing it. So
it's at the end of the day, I think the internet has allowed people to seek ways to be more informative about themselves, their own bodies, whatever they decide. The beauty about decision making and free will is ultimately you need to decide what's best for yourself, right? So if you ask questions and find something like Fresh Mouth Club, which it's really interesting, because you have a subscription based model, and then you have Nano Silver. And I really wanted to ask some questions about the company too, because you have a subscription model, you do free shipping, and you have your different types of toothpaste, different types of mouthwashes, toothbrushes. So explain that whole, when somebody signs up as a customer and decides, hey, this is for me. This guy is speaking my kind of language.
Sure. So first of all, we don't require subscriptions, so you can do a subscription as an option. No, that's fine, because not everybody is into subscriptions. I happen to think what we do is our subscription is just cheaper, so we make it less money, and we give you free shipping. So if you just want to buy it one off, then you pay shipping and you pay the retail on it. So we get you either side. But the subscription models, I mean, subscriptions are becoming more and more prevalent. Everybody's kind of moving to those models. And they are convenient. They have their downfalls for sure, depending on the products. I just thought, gosh, oral health care is a perfect product for that, because it's a consumable. We buy this stuff we need to get it. You run out, so it's consumable. We got to replace it constantly. So having it just delivered, is just a better, more convenient way. And we're not in stores, so obviously we're direct to consumer. So we make it easier. We can make our product better and cheaper and more affordable, and do things like free shipping and stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah, so it just fits the model very well. The big thing is the big, a centerpiece product is our toothpaste. So, people are trying to move away from fluoride now, which is really good because fluoride really bad for us. I mean, it causes the side effects for fluoride. I mean, the number one cause of tooth decay in America is fluorosis. Now that's indisputable. I have the specs on it, and that's literally caused by fluorides. Fluoride
Okay.
causes the exact thing that it's supposed to be protecting. It also causes receding gums. It causes bleeding gums. It causes
Oh, wow.
cancer. I mean,
Yeah.
cancer rates go up 1,000% where everywhere that fluoride's introduced if it wasn't there before, and that was actually proven back in 1950 by Dr. Burke, and they ridiculed him, for doing that. Of course, he caught a lot of heat for pushing that out there.
Isn't it always
But
funny though when people are like kind of like the first person, like and I hate to cut you off, but you always think of like I always go back to like Superman when like Kal-El was, Jor-El, excuse me, was saying, "Hey, Krypton's gonna blow up," and then everybody basically, no, the planet's not exploding. I know this is a kind of a deviation, and then what happens after he has that speech? The planet blows up, and then he's just, that person that wasn't believed is always ultimately have to really stand on their own and their own principles, and then they make it vindicated even after they die.
Right, and that's actually what happened. Dr. Burke gets vindicated in 2014. He's dead,
Right.
But they said all of his research was correct. Now, that's kind of interesting because this guy said it was the biggest cause of cancer out there. And he literally said that fluoride was responsible for more deaths through cancer than all the wars put together at that time, all the people that have died. That's actually how extreme he said. He was vindicated in 2014. Well, what is the year today? 25. So, here we are 11 years later, and we're still putting it in. I mean, we didn't he was right, but let's just leave it alone.
Make a change in business practice.
That's par for the course, and then we got to push to try to get it out and remove it. We get a lot of pushback. So then you got to say, why are these people pushing back so hard? Mm-hmm. Why are they able to do this? Why are they using the legal system basically against us to keep poisoning us? I mean, they don't even have a good reason. It's not like they say, we got to keep doing it because it's good for you, and people are going to have this and that. They're not even making those arguments. They're just saying, no, we're just going to keep doing it because they make a lot of money on fluoride. So not only do they make money on it, but they also save so much, and that's the big thing. So fluoride is toxic waste. That's what it is. It comes from the manufacturing of phosphate fertilizer. So when they make Roundup in the factories, the waste byproduct is fluoride. That's fact. So highly toxic, deadly. We're talking skull and crossbones, the whole shot when they put it in our water. I mean, that's what it is. If they have spills, which they have in the past, they got to call in a hazmat team. They got to be fully suited to actually handle that spill because it's deadly. It will kill people. So this is, and we're putting this in our water. Like, okay, this doesn't make sense, but that's where we're at. Everything's kind of crazy right now. So they get to defend their position strictly from a financial aspect rather than a health. It shouldn't be that, right? It should just be like, oh, hey, we have a discussion we need to have here. This stuff is killing people, causing cancer. We need to stop, But they're like, no. We got to go to court for it and fight for it for no real, they don't really have, any kind of contradiction to that. They just basically want to save money.
Basically, this is business as usual. This is how it's going to be, kind of a deal.
Yeah, business as usual. Let's just keep it up, So, but I think the good thing is that I think that veil is lifted, and I think a lot of people are waking up. More and more people are actually getting into the whole question everything, and that means everything, and I think that we're having more and more of these conversations here about like just mainstream anything mainstream. Is it really what it's supposed to be? We got the mainstream defending fluoride for what reason exactly? They can't even give a good one because we want to make money.
I think one of the best benefits of this show is being able to talk to people who have, this is what the show's all about, to talk to people who have carved out different niches and explored different avenues and been successful and are curious. That's what the basis of the show was all about, was to, find people who are curious about things such as myself. And so And that's why I'm very appreciative of this important topic, because I think that, anytime people can kind of go to routine, is the routine what I'm doing actually helpful, or is it just something that's kind of a baked in habit, so to speak, right? And
Right,
then
right.
my second question is that how has your product been received? And then you said, I know I saw an interview before where you guys were kind of working with dental insurance companies to be, how did you end up getting into the industry with your product from the outside coming in?
Well, we didn't actually. So we designed
Okay.
it for insurance. We kind of went to the insurance companies and said if we could design a product that was truly preventative in nature and actually help orally, is that something we could market to all the members? So really, we wanted to market it to the insurance company because they would, basically have millions of members, and it would be an overnight get rich quick scheme, right? But it didn't turn into that. Actually, to be honest, the insurance companies actually did like the concept. They were all over it. And actually, when we actually put together all the information and all the literature that's out there, the clinical studies, we have all that. And we went to the insurance companies. They were like, we loved it. They're like, hey, just put fluoride in it and we're good to go. And I was like, whoa, wait, and that was the first part of the conversation. Let me go back to it. They're like, no, if you put fluoride in it, we'll do it. If you don't, we won't. So we ended up walking away. So I'm not kind of not built that way. So we walked away, and I said, I can do this myself. I don't need the insurance companies. Of course, it would have been a lot easier, let me tell you. But we are getting well received, but we're pretty much word of mouth. I'm totally self-funded, so we don't have the big budget to be able to do a lot of stuff and throw it on the commercials and do all kinds of big things like that. So
but you're doing very well.
We're doing good. Yeah. We get it out there with the word of mouth. I mean, we do a lot of trade shows, expose health and wellness shows and stuff like that around the country, and just kind of spread awareness, put it out there. So
awesome.
And people, I think today, like we just talked about, people are waking up. People are looking for alternatives. Now, for the first time, I think we got people questioning their doctors, questioning their dentists, saying maybe this isn't the best course of action for me. We see a lot of that, a lot of mainstream stuff. Even mainstream doctors are now coming out saying, hey, maybe we're not doing the best that we could be. And a lot of these things that we're doing are not necessarily helping people. They're helping other people get rich, but they're not helping people health-wise. And so that movement's helping a lot. And, toothpaste is a big part of that too. We got a lot of people that are, like I said, shifting away. Trying to get away from fluoride, which is great. But, here's the rub on that. So all natural toothpaste isn't exactly great for us either. And that actually is even more disappointing when you really look at it. And I kind of think it's almost intentional, to be honest. I think that some of these companies are allowed to exist because they don't work. So all natural toothpaste isn't necessarily great for us. Now, they're not poison. So, so there is a, light year jump there. We're not poisoning ourselves with it. But we're not killing the bacteria that causes tooth decay and gingivitis and stuff. We got a lot of bad stuff in our mouth that does need to be purged. Fluoride does kill it. So that's kind of what they hang their hat on. There's a couple other things too, but that's like the big thing. And that is true. And your all natural stuff just doesn't do it. So that's actually an issue. There's very few products on the market that actually address that. And that's specifically what we do. And we use silver. So silver is one of the strongest killers of bacteria known to man. So it obliterates bacteria, germs, viruses, and fungus on contact. So it's a contact killer. It kills faster than anything else out there. Matter of fact, there's not an antibiotic made today that can hold a candle to what silver can do. So that's a fact. I mean, silver's pretty amazing stuff. But silver also heals and it regenerates. So we use, silver nitrate in hospitals on burn victims because it regrows skin tissue. So, and it heals. I mean, in wound care, silver's big because silver heals faster than anything. So it heals, it regenerates. I mean, silver actually boosts our immune system more than vitamin C does because silver is a mineral that belongs in our body. It's an immunity booster. So we use silver. A lot of people use silver when they get sick. It definitely shortens the duration. But if you use it all the time, you just don't get sick. So that's, you just have a very, very strong immune system.
And you guys have your own dental plan, right? I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, go ahead.
I said you guys have your own dental coverage as well, too, right? Through your...
Yeah, we do. Complete Care Dental is our dental company. That's a dental insurance plan. And I mean, dental insurance is as a whole isn't really a great market. It's designed
No.
to, basically you're paying more money than you would for benefits. Our product actually does address that. So we have more of it's a discount structured dental plan with paid benefits. So we
Okay.
actually do pay benefits. But it's a discount. So you get to take advantage of a lot of things right away. Whereas normal dental, you got waiting periods, 1 year, 2 years, stuff
Right.
like that for major services. We go in right away. So you get more for the bang for your buck, and it's a lot cheaper. So yeah, we do have a decent plan, for people. And I think a big thing is people need to get more into preventative. And I think that, I'll get a lot of slack from dentists, dentists, that's for sure. But I don't think dentists are quite as required as we think so. So I don't really think we need to go twice a year and everything. I mean, basically all they're doing is cleaning our teeth. If they're doing more than that, that's different. And I think dentists need to step up. I think they step up and they need to be doing more for people. There is definitely a need for dentists. I'm not saying there's not,
Right.
but brushing your teeth, you don't really need them to do that. Checkups, I get that. That is true. Silver actually heals a lot of things in our mouth, which is pretty amazing. The nano silver, that's what we use specifically, is actually clinically proven to actually heal enamel. So we got people that had cavities literally heal over in about 4 to 6 weeks, and
I saw that
gum
one.
tissue regeneration about 6 to 8 months,
That's
which
amazing.
is your dentist. These are things that your dentists are going to say that's not possible.
That's amazing stuff, and it's
Yeah.
like, what the thing that fascinated me the most was that just how successful you guys have been from your inception, because people are looking at different things not at face value any longer. And so you guys, from my understanding, you're based out of Illinois, right?
Yeah.
You're based out of Illinois,
Don't hold
right?
that against us. Yeah, we ship all over the country, though. Even, we do international as well. So we have some international clients we ship out. We don't really have distributors outside the U.S. just yet, but so we distribute here, U.S. Based, but we'll ship out of country there. So we're kind of looking for some strategic partners at this point. So
Well, I'm sure it gets more complicated when you're dealing with things, because you have to deal with overseas laws and regulations and things like that when it comes to, you're not shipping a teddy bear to somebody, right? You're shipping something that's with oral health. So I don't even know if they have to go through the Ministry of Health, or they have to go through, whatever. I'm sure you've navigated those waters and you're working on through and through.
Yeah. Well, the main thing is you can't, like, you can't make medical claims. You can't do this, that. I mean, there's a lot of ins and outs, which, don't even, a lot of it doesn't even make sense, because when you really get down to it, they we have clinical proof on stuff, but they're like, to make claims, you gotta do the studies yourself, even though the studies are out there. I was like, well, they already exist. What do I need? Well, because you're gonna spend money. That's why. Everything's about money, So
What you
that's
gonna do? There's a lot of entrenched, I'm sure there's some gatekeepers that, when somebody knocks on the door and says they have something different, there's a,
oh yeah.
yeah,
And they're not,
the
the toothpaste industry itself is, I mean, it's a $23 billion a year industry. It's controlled by about 4 companies. So, and that's fact. So these guys don't like people playing in their sandbox. And usually what happens is most of them will get bought out. So like, Tom's, which was an all natural toothpaste, they got bought out by Crest, and Hello, a more recent brand, they got bought out by Colgate. So a lot of these companies, when they get to a certain size, they just get sucked up by the big guys, and they'll bring them in, and actually they end up changing the formulation on it and kind of messing it up and putting fluoride in it. They put fluoride version.
Because if you think about it, you get a product, you get backing, financial backing, you get very successful, and then the investors or the private equity group is like, listen, this number got dangled in front of you, you're taking it, right? And even if the founder, and I say this respectfully, the founder is put in a very, very quote unquote bad spot, because now you're looking at the people that invested in you versus your personal beliefs versus the money that somebody wants to pay. And then I'll leave that up to the people that have those decisions to be made. And I'm not passing judgment by saying this on the show. I'm just discussing the reality for anybody who's listening. But that's where things tend to take place, and the water can get muddled.
Right. No, absolutely. A lot of people, you're sellout, this and that, Well, you got to realize too that you're dealing with really big corporations.
Oh my God.
I mean, these guys got pockets that go way deep, man. And I'll give, that, like I said, like we were just saying, give some of those people, you got to give them a little bit of credit, because not only is you got to take care of your investors and stuff like that. You got responsibilities for that. You also have that, these guys are big and they got money. So they're offering you an opportunity with money to get out and, kind of do better and help everybody out on this side. But if you refuse, guess what? They're going to come after you in different ways. So
Oh, for sure. I
that's
mean,
not necessarily fun either.
you're right. I mean, it's like, they'll either. I mean, trust me. I mean, if they'll get what they want ultimately, right?
Yes.
They'll get what
Yeah.
they want, and I'm sure that either
There's a story about Chipotle. I don't know if you've ever kind of dug into that a little bit, but
no,
they got bought out, so, but prior to that, they did not want to sell. And because they were like blazing across the country, they were growing like leaps and bounds. This was a big company. They were growing fast. And then all of a sudden, they had, I don't know if you remember, Chipotle had that big E. coli scare.
Oh, yeah.
And like nobody would go to their stocks plummeted. I mean, plummeted. And guess what? They bought them up. There you go. And then there we are. They're back to one of the biggest chains out there now. So exactly. So these guys play dirty,
It makes you wonder if there was that, it makes you wonder, was there a little, Chinatown thing going on right there with their supply, so to speak? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, how come all of a sudden this happens to my company? Being,
right.
I mean, being realistic, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I mean, and that stuff happens all the time. Then they're able to buy them at pennies on the dollar, instead of top dollar.
Right.
There is that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, hopefully, there's. I'd like to think things are figment of my imagination, but movies get made off of things that really took place, and sometimes things are more real than people make them out to be. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's all that what they say. I seen a meme the other day. It was like, I got to go get some more conspiracy theories because all my old ones came true, right? Being a conspiracy theorist today is kind of like a badge of honor, right?
Yeah, right. Well, it's just like being a geek, right? Like, like this show right now, like everybody would have laughed at it, 30 years ago if I was in high school, but now all of a sudden they're like, dude, you're kind of cool. I'm like, yeah, the geeks like were ahead of the curve, man, and like now I'm a geek, and
they were,
nothing changed, you changed, right? Because so I always ask these questions, not because they need me, but because I like to ask it respectfully of the guests. Where can people find Fresh Mouth Club, Larry Oberheu?
Well, we're online at freshmouth.club. And like I said, you can try our products one at a time. You can do subscriptions. If you join our subscription, we just give you, like I said, cheaper price. We give you free shipping. We also allow you to buy at the cheaper price as well. So if you just did want to like add an extra tube of toothpaste, or you wanted some of our other products, you get to buy those at the discount subscription price. So it's kind of like, being in the club, you get, some preferred pricing and free shipping and stuff. So, that's kind of our motto. So if you, I tell people, if you like it, and you want to get it, not like you're not going to buy it anyway, we just drop it off for you and we give it to you cheaper and we give you free shipping. So, and we're not in stores. So it's not, at this point, I'm not saying that we never will be, but, right now we're kind of focused more on the direct to consumer aspect of it. And we're doing real well with that. And like I said, there's a big hole in the marketplace. We're trying to fill it and get people, better health, better teeth, better overall well-being in their body, because the mouth is the start of that, like you talked about. But
that it is. It's the gateway to your, to your health. It really, truly is.
Right, exactly. So, and the silver is like a big part of it. I mean, silver is really amazing for our body. So as you're brushing your teeth, you are actually getting silver immunity boost out of it. It actually starts, like I said, helps heal a lot of, we're not really like a problematic toothpaste like a Sensodyne or Pro Enamel or Prodentix for gums, but we heal almost everything in the mouth. The sensitive teeth go away permanently. So it's not a temporary thing. Sensitive gums, bleeding gums, inflamed gums. We're the only product on the market that can go below gum line. The nanoparticles are so small, it goes below gum. Silver eradicates gingivitis, periodontal, like pretty much on contact. So regular use of it cleans below teeth, which right now, if you have an issue with that, which all of us tend to have some of that for sure. But if it's bad, they got to cut your gums open and scrape that bacteria out, which is a pretty horrendous surgery. Our toothpaste actually penetrates that every day. So it actually keeps below gum. It keeps our gums healthier. It actually destroys plaque and tartar, which are caused by bacteria. Silver kills those bacteria that cause it. So regular use of it, plaque and tartar can't stick on our teeth. So, it really kind of diminishes the need to have those 2 times a year cleaning kind of a thing. Not saying that we don't need checkups, but, but if you're doing well in your mouth, I mean, you tend to necessarily go there if you have issues or more preventative, maybe once a year or something. So it keeps you out of the dentist, which that's why dentists don't like. But yeah, so we do some good stuff there. We have we do ozone as well, so we
Okay.
brought ozone into the space, so you can use our ozone bottles if you opt for that. We also have some ozonated oils that do some pretty amazing stuff for our teeth. But we do pretty much full line too. That's another thing too. We're not just toothpaste. We do, toothbrush, toothpaste, mouthwash, floss, timer. We have oil pulling. We have whitening. We have, all kinds of stuff. We even do water, hydrogen water, and ozone. And then we do, hydrogen or reverse osmosis water machines that take out fluoride out of the water too, because we're kind of at heart of a non-fluoride company. So we have a pretty wide range of products, and we're starting to try to add other stuff too. We just built a new section called Maha products, and we're going to try to bring more health related products in there. We have a silver soap line now too, so with soap, it doesn't have a lot of the harsh chemicals and stuff like that in it, and we use silver in it, which is amazing stuff. Odors are caused by bacteria. Silver kills all those bacteria. So it takes away odor. Odor keeps us healthier longer, kind of impregnates and lasts a lot longer throughout the day.
I got to say that was a mouthful.
Yeah.
know? I'd say that respectfully, tongue in cheek, man. I couldn't help. I was like, I got to say that. Hopefully it'll come across kind of cool.
That's right.
I'll be honest with you, this was very informative. I hope that even I get a chance to get, some sample products, and people who are listening on this show, I think that this is one of the stories that people like to hear, because this show is all about talking to people like yourself, people who think outside the box, people who have carved in a lane for themselves. And that's why this show was created, to have guests such as yourself. So I'm really appreciative of your time. And I'm looking forward to hearing about your continued success.
Great, man. It was a pleasure being on. I appreciate it. And yeah, maybe we can, do another show down the road or something and kind of go through some of that stuff again. So yeah.
Appreciate you, brother. Larry Oberheu, thank you very much. Fresh Mouth Club on the Tron podcast. Have a wonderful day, sir.
All right. You do the same, man.